Hi, welcome to Take a Break, Take a Breath for Wednesday, January 20th. I'm Rick Boyer, the pastor of Prospect Presbyterian Church in Maplewood, New Jersey. And Take a Break, Take a Breath is an invitation for you to pause in your day and from all of the activities and all of the things that keep us busy and running, and to take a breath and focus on God for just a moment, to center ourselves and ground ourselves in the one who made us and loves us and calls us by name. Each time together we've been reading a different psalm, and today is Psalm 126. It's another one of the songs of ascent, meaning that they sang them, or the theory is they sang them as they walked up the hill to Jerusalem, as they made their pilgrimage. So it has this step kind of rhythm to it. The verses that I want to focus on are the last two verses, 5 and 6. May those who sow in tears reap with shouts of joy. Those who go out weeping, bearing the seed for sowing, shall come home with shouts of joy, carrying their sheaves. This psalm is generally viewed, especially when you read it in the New Revised Standard Version or the New International Version, as a prayer of petition. And it starts out talking about how there were times when in the past God had come through for the people and they were filled with joy and laughter. And then it turns to asking God to help them again. And it uses this image of sowing in tears and reaping in joy. It's the basis for an old hymn, Bringing in the Sheaves. You can think of the chorus, bringing in the sheaves, we shall come rejoicing, bringing in the sheaves. It's suggested also that it's a great psalm to read alongside of the book of Joel, the prophet. We probably don't read Joel very often, but the two of them have a similar context of having come home, but there is this ongoing trouble, and so based on the fact that God has saved them in the past, they reach out to God for joy and hope and protection. So I invite you to find a quiet place in your house and to sit down in a chair and get comfortable. Close the door if you have a door, and take some deep breaths. And as you breathe in the breath of God. And as you breathe out all that separates you from God. Breathe in the breath of life, and breathe out all that does not give you life. Breathe in God's peace, and breathe out all of your fears and worries and anxieties. Breathe in the good air, breathe out the stale and old air. Continue to breathe deeply and slowly. And as you do so, imagine that the peace and presence of God is spreading and growing in you and also in the room where you are. You might imagine that peace of God spreading on you like the warmth of sunlight that falls on you on a nice summer day. And you can feel the warmth of that sunlight as it lands on your feet and on your legs, and it feels good, and the warmth relaxes the muscles. And as it falls on your stomach, it calms any flutters and jitters that might be in your stomach. And as it falls on your chest, it deepens your breath, and your heart rate slows to a resting rate. And as it falls on your back, the warmth of that sunshine penetrates into those tense muscles. and those muscles begin to relax. As it falls on your shoulders relax, and any tensions that were there, if your shoulders were hunched up, they're relaxed and the tensions are released. As it falls on your arms and your hands open up, and perhaps you turn them palm up to receive God's peace and grace. As it falls on your neck, the tensions you've been holding in your neck unwind and are released. As it falls on your face and you turn your face upward to look toward the warmth of that light, the tensions in your jaw are released and your brow is unfurrowed and you're calm and peaceful. And as it falls on the top of your head, the warmth penetrates into your mind. The peace and warmth of God calms and stills your mind from all that might make you anxious or worried. And then in your mind's eye, imagine a farmhouse surrounded by fields that are ready for harvest. There are a couple of rocking chairs on the porch of that farmhouse, and you're sitting looking out over those fields. It's a beautiful warm day. And across the fields you can see a little white frame church. The windows, you can tell from this distance, are opened. And just in the very faintest tones, you can hear them singing, bringing in the sheaves, bringing in the sheaves. We will come rejoicing, bringing in the sheaves. Sitting there thinking about the ways that God has taken care of you in the past, and praying that in the middle of this pandemic and in the middle of all of the unrest that has been unfolding, and especially on this day of an inauguration, that God's peace and joy would bring a harvest of righteousness and goodness. Someone comes and sits beside you, and you know instantly that it is God. What does God look like today? What does God's voice sound like? The two of you strike up a conversation and you talk about everything that's been going on. Your past history with God and your concerns for today. I'll be quiet while the two of you talk and pray. And then the time comes for the conversation to end, and so you bring it to an end, and the two of you stand and say goodbye in whatever way is appropriate, and you watch as God walks off. And you can still hear the sound of the people singing in the chapel across the field. And then you let that image fade away. And you bring yourself back to the room where you are. And when you are ready, you open your eyes. Well, that's Take a Break, Take a Breath for Wednesday, January 20th. If you have feedback for me, or you want to talk or pray, send an email to rick@prospectchurch.org.